At the absolute heart of the Cold War, the CIA had a secret weapon. It wasn't a bomb, it wasn't a plane. It was something far stranger, something they believed they could pry open and point like a gun: the human mind. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is a ridiculously true, declassified government program to weaponize consciousness itself. Imagine a spy, not in a trench coat, but in a sterile, featureless room in Maryland. He closes his eyes, and thousands of miles away, through concrete and steel and jamming signals, he begins to describe the inside of a top-secret Soviet nuclear facility. He draws sketches of strange new submarines before they've ever hit the water. This was the goal. This was the madness. To even begin to understand this, you have to feel the sheer, teeth-grinding terror of the era. Two global superpowers with enough nuclear firepower to turn the planet into a radioactive cinder, locked in a perpetual, unblinking, staring contest where the slightest twitch could mean total annihilation. Espionage was everything, and every shadow held a potential threat. The CIA was desperate, clawing for any possible advantage. And then whispers slithered out from behind the Iron Curtain, whispers that the Soviets were pouring millions into something called psychotronics. Weaponized telepathy, long-distance hypnosis, mind control. Faced with the possibility of a psychic gap, American paranoia boiled over and became official, top-secret policy. So what was this bizarre technique they cooked up? They called it remote viewing. And no, this is not just daydreaming about your enemy's lunch plans. It was designed as a strict, repeatable, almost scientific protocol to allow a human mind to perceive information about a distant object, person, or place completely blocked by any known physical barrier. Think of your brain as a glitchy biological radio. Instead of tuning into pop music, the remote viewer was attempting to tune into the very fabric of space-time itself. The signal, they believed, was faint, drowned in static and noise, a ghostly whisper from across reality. But with the right training, they thought they could hear it. And this wasn't happening in some incense-choked back-alley seance. This was happening at the prestigious Stanford Research Institute. The CIA, in its infinite and terrifying wisdom, found two laser physicists, Hal Puthoff and Russell Targ, who were not only brilliant but just crazy enough to take the job. These weren't some fringe crackpots. These were respected men of science who willingly traded their peer-reviewed respectability for a deep, dark dive into the paranormal abyss, all funded by Uncle Sam's blackest of black ops budgets. They were building a laboratory for the impossible. Then, a man named Ingo Swann walked into their lab, and everything changed. Swann was an eccentric, flamboyant New York artist who claimed he could astral project, leaving his physical body to explore the universe. He was the psychic superstar they were looking for. But Swann wasn't just a lab rat. He took one look at the scientists' experiments and, with blistering arrogance, called them amateurish. He became a co-creator, a collaborator, helping them design and refine the very protocols that would define remote viewing for decades. He was theatrical, difficult, and allegedly terrifyingly accurate. Swann didn't just claim he could see distant targets, he claimed he could affect them. In one legendary experiment, he was asked to psychically describe a highly sensitive magnetometer buried in a concrete vault deep underground. He did one better. He focused his mind on the device's internal workings, and its delicate readings went completely haywire. The scientists were spooked. The CIA was absolutely thrilled. So how did they do it? This wasn't some crystal ball cliché. This was a rigid, almost surgical protocol designed to peel back the skin of space-time. The psychic, or viewer, was locked away in a sensory-neutral room, completely blind to the target. They knew nothing. No hints, no context, nothing but a sterile sheet of paper and a pen. An interviewer, a stone-faced monitor, would sit with them, providing only a set of geographic coordinates. The viewer's job was to then slip the leash of their conscious mind, to fall into a controlled meditative state where the noise of the world faded away, and something else could whisper back. Impressions would begin to flow like psychic ink blots, textures, sounds, smells, abstract shapes. They would sketch these raw, unfiltered perceptions, describing the feel of a place they had never been, a place that might be thousands of miles away, locked behind enemy lines. And here's where your rational brain starts to short-circuit. Because it seemed to work. In one terrifyingly specific test, they handed a viewer, Pat Price, coordinates for a secret Soviet site at Semipalatinsk. Price closed his eyes and described strange underground buildings. He drew massive gantry cranes moving over a railway, and then the kicker, he described a gigantic 60-foot metal sphere being assembled underground. The CIA was floored. Their own satellite intelligence later confirmed it. Semipalatinsk was the Soviet Union's primary underground atomic testing facility. Price hadn't just seen a building. He had described with chilling accuracy the assembly of a nuclear device. The impossible was staring them right in the face, grinning a radioactive grin. But it didn't stop there. They targeted another set of coordinates deep inside the Soviet Union. This time, the viewer described a sprawling industrial complex, dominated by immense cranes, bigger than any he'd ever seen. He sketched the construction of a bizarre new class of submarine, one with two hulls, one inside the other. The CIA's top analysts scoffed, until a KH-11 satellite passed over the site and sent back photographs that made their blood run cold, giant gantry cranes, and the unmistakable double-hulled silhouette of the Soviets' brand-new top-secret Typhoon-class submarine. But why stop at spying on your Cold War nemesis when you can spy on the entire cosmos? In a moment of pure, unadulterated scientific hubris, they asked their star psychic, Ingo Swann, to take a look at the planet Jupiter. This was months before the Pioneer 10 space probe was scheduled to make its historic flyby. They were flying completely blind, armed only with a man's consciousness. Swann came back with visions that astronomers at the time considered pure fantasy. He described a planet with faint shimmering rings, something only Saturn was thought to possess. He reported seeing colossal storms of ice crystals glittering high in the atmosphere and a surface that was not solid but a roiling ocean of liquid hydrogen. The scientists at Stanford Research Institute politely filed it away as fascinating gibberish, until Pioneer 10 screamed past Jupiter and sent back the data. It confirmed the existence of Jupiter's faint, previously unknown rings. Now, this is the part that should make your skin crawl. This wasn't just some bizarre academic sideshow funded by spooks with too much time on their hands. It became a fully operational, multi-million-dollar intelligence program. It cycled through a series of chillingly bureaucratic code names, from Sunstreak to Grillflame, and finally, the infamous Stargate. For 20 years, the United States government employed a stable of psychic spies. This wasn't a test anymore. It was a weapon. They poured millions of dollars into refining these techniques, turning the fragile, unpredictable art of remote viewing into a repeatable, weaponized system for gathering intelligence. And they used it. Oh, they used it for everything. They tasked the viewers with peering inside foreign embassies, tracking the location of Libyan dictator Muammar Gaddafi, locating kidnapped American officials in Italy, and even hunting for scuttled Soviet submarines on the ocean floor. The human mind, the most mysterious object in the universe, had officially been drafted into the Cold War. So, let's just stop and marinate in the absolutely grotesque implications here. If even a sliver of this is true, what does it actually mean? It means the fundamental laws of physics we cling to for comfort are not a steel fortress. They're a flimsy cardboard box someone scribbled reality on with a crayon. It means the universe doesn't care about our rules. It means causality, the neat little line of dominoes from cause to effect, is a child's fantasy. It means space and time are not the rigid walls of our prison, but a shimmering, permeable curtain that a focused mind can simply poke a finger through. It means your consciousness isn't some fizzing chemical reaction locked inside your skull. It's an antenna that can tune into signals from anywhere, anytime. So if they had this reality-bending, physics-shattering weapon, where is it now? The story takes a sharp, suspicious turn. In 1995, the CIA officially terminated Project Stargate. The curtains came down, the lights went out. The official public report landed with a dull thud, concluding the program was never, ever useful as an intelligence source. The data was dismissed as vague and ambiguous. The hits were just lucky guesses. The misses were too numerous. It was a 20-year, $20 million dead end. Case closed, right? A weird but harmless footnote in the history of espionage. Move along, nothing to see here. Don't look at the men in black burning all the files. But is that the truth, or is it just a more comfortable lie? Think about it. If you discovered a secret that could literally break the world, would you announce it at a press conference? Or would you bury it so deep no one could ever find it? Perhaps Stargate wasn't terminated because it failed. Perhaps it was terminated because it succeeded too well, revealing a truth about reality so unsettling, so uncontrollable, they had to slam the door shut and pretend they never found the key. So, why did the CIA hire psychics to spy on the Soviets? Because in the desperate, paranoid, beating heart of the Cold War, with nuclear annihilation just a button push away, they were willing to try anything. They weren't just fighting a war of spies and soldiers, they were fighting a war for reality itself, and they were terrified of being outmaneuvered on a battlefield they didn't even know existed. The story of Project Stargate is a testament to how far human ingenuity and human terror will push us when we're backed into a corner. It's a grotesque monument to fear, a cautionary tale about what happens when the people with all the power decide that the rules of science are optional. But it leaves us with a beautifully terrifying question that gnaws at the edges of everything we think we know. The real mystery isn't whether the CIA had a team of psychic spies. The real mystery is whether the universe they were trying to peek into is even stranger than they could have possibly imagined. What if consciousness isn't something the brain creates, but something it receives? What if your brain is just a biological radio, tuned to the frequency of you, and these remote viewers were simply figuring out how to change the channel? To tune into the frequency of a secret base, or a distant planet, or maybe even another time. The government may have packed up the lab and shredded the reports, but the questions they unleashed are still out there, echoing in the dark. They ripped a tiny hole in the fabric of reality, and even if they tried to stitch it shut, you have to wonder, did they ever really manage to close it all the way?